Hello everyone, I'm just going to do an update video on fermented grains, on how I actually feed the chickens and the quail fermented grains. So here we have a few different stages. This is the dried grain, just the standard wheat that you can buy from feed stores and so on. So that's the amount of original wheat that is in all of these pots. That's the exact same amount. I measure it out. So this is how it starts off. All I do is I fill this up with water to about here, as you can see, screw the lid on, give it a shake, and then leave the lid, unscrew the lid and just leave it on top so that nothing falls in, and just make sure that there's no wheat on top or on the actual lid itself, because then that can be a source of growth of bacteria and fungus and things like that. So we don't want that. So this has been soaking over one night. This has been about 2 days, little over 2 days, and then this one is what I'm going to feed them today, which has been in there a little bit longer. Now, to actually start off with, you can put tap water in, just put tap water in and that's fine. Ideally you want water that's been sitting for a little while, because then the chlorine in the water can sort of settle out. You can bubble air through it to get the chlorine out, but honestly I don't bother. I just put the tap water in, give it a shake, and then leave it. And then each day all I do, I haven't done this one yet, screw the lid on nice and tightly, upend the jar, give it a shake, and then take the lid off. You can see that there's some stuck to the lid, so just put the lid back on, give it a little shake so that the water washes the lid off, and there you go, nothing on the lid. So that's how I make sure there's nothing on. So that's what it looks like after one day. You can see the water's gone a little bit cloudy, and that's the lactobacteria that's been fermenting the grain. The next one, again, once a day, put the lid on nice and tightly, upside down, give it a shake, and then give it a little shake the right way up to get rid of the grain in the lid. Put the lid back on, and there you go. Ideally in a warm position. It doesn't have to be in sunlight. Ideally in a warm area. This is just my kitchen, it's my draining board, and then this is what I'm going to give the birds today. You can see all of the air bubbles. If I just shake that, you can see them coming out. That is part of the fermentation. Upside down, and you will get a little bit of white grain on the bottom. And now I'm going to pour this water out. I am not going to get rid of this water, because that has all of the good bacteria in it. It's nice and cloudy, so instead of taking 4 days to ferment, this one may well be done in 3 days or even less. So sometimes when you first start it off with the tap water, it can take 4, maybe 5 days to actually really get started and look right. If you smell it, you smell a little bit of, you will smell the fermentation. It's not unpleasant. It's got a slightly sour, slightly sour, almost sauerkrautish smell, but not quite. So it's the same sort of bacteria that's being used. So take a measuring. You can use a sieve. All I do is I put the jar on loosely, don't screw it on, just hold it on, and then pour the water out. There we go. Look at that lovely colour. There we go. You get the idea. So that is now grain to give to the chickens. And all I do is kickstart this pour that in there. You can see that the grain has actually absorbed a fair amount of the water. So I'm just going to top that up with just tap water. There we go. Lid on nice and tight. Give it a shake. And there we go. Make sure that the lid is loose. Pop the lid on. And there we go. And I'll just move it along the counter. And when this is empty, then what I will do is I will just fill it up to there with grain and do the whole thing all over again. So I don't leave this out of the water for long because it will start growing mould or it'll start sprouting. So that will go straight into the pen with the birds and they absolutely love it. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Just some people do it in buckets, some people do it in a large container, a large batch. This is just how you can see you can do batches of any size. You could use much smaller jars if you have only a few birds. I mean, mine won't eat all of that in one day, so I may put water in it again just to preserve it a little bit, or just chuck the whole lot in and let them eat it as and when they want it. So yeah, you can do it any size jars. You can do it, it doesn't have to be in daylight, you can do it in an airing cupboard or somewhere like that, but ideally somewhere that you're going to be visiting once a day so that you can give it a shake and just keep an eye on it. You can actually see the difference. I know it's been shaken up and you'll have the dust from these, but you can see the difference in the water is much more similar to this one, which has been going longer, than this one that's only been going a couple of days. With the tap water starter. So I started these all from fresh for this video, and every now and again I do like to start them from fresh just to make sure that there's no unpleasant bacteria in there. The good bacteria should actually outcompete any bad bacteria, so it's not something you really need to worry about, but just every now and again I like to give them a good clean. Okay, so I've just taken my batch of unfocused grain down. You can see that the quail are already queuing up for it. Now there are bits and pieces of grain in amongst the wood chips, so you can see that they do like to have it fresh, but it is there. It does mean that it is there for them to peck at if they do need any extra food. Gives them a chance to have a good scrabble around and go for it. So I really like giving them this stuff, and they seem to like it. Look at this guy, he wants it, he wants it. There you go. And they will absolutely fill their crops with this. In fact, Iftika's even come out of her little shelter where she was trying to lay an egg just for the grain. Yes, look, there's more, it's okay. And the quail will come and eat some as well. So just spread it out like that. They're not that hungry today because they've already had mealworms, but they are absolutely loving this. They definitely look forward to it. And even the ducks are curious, wondering what I've got for them. I don't have anything for them. Is that nice? I don't worry too much about the last little bits left in there because I'm just going to put grain back in there and fill it up again anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but you can rinse it out. Try and shake out as much as possible. It's a very good way of feeding them because firstly the grain itself is quite cheap, secondly this does swell it up so it fills them up more quickly. Yes, I know, hush now. It does fill them up quite a lot, and it's quite warm. Sometimes when you pick the jars up on a cold day you can feel that they are a little bit warm, so it gives these guys a little bit of warmth. Hello darling, you've actually already got a little bit of a crop there. You can actually feel a little bit of warmth in them, so it's meant to be quite an economic way of feeding them and quite healthy for them. So I'll leave them to it, to have a good old peck. The beautiful blue ears of these guys, absolutely love it. And the quail will hang back, and then once these guys have had their fill, the quail will come over, and the males will make a big fuss. Hello, Sticker. Go on, get down. That's it. Go on. No. Go on. Make a big fuss about it because they quite enjoy it as well, but they don't tend to get a look in of anything nice until the chickens have had their fill. You'll see them sort of skirting around the edges, waiting for their opportunity to pounce. Much like this one, who just wants to come out. We'll leave them to it.